All right, so now we're going to be looking at the arrangement in terms of chord progression. If you remember back in the second video rather, I mentioned how future bass is commonly described as the happy cousin, it's just the happy version of trap. I say happy cousin. But what we're going to be looking at is if I can use a different chord progression in the hook or drop and potentially change things up in the breakdown. I got kind of lazy with the scratch track that I sent out to Luna, and it was the same chord progression all the way through. And that's going to make it kind of hard to really differentiate between sections in the song. So we're going to look at creating just more of a unique feel in the breakdown and potentially even the hook. So I already have the arrangement of the drums laid out, so I kind of have the energy there, so I know if the chords are going to work. And I sometimes don't start with the drums. In certain genres, like 4-on-the-floor genres, drums are like the last thing I do because it's all about just getting frequencies to sit together and getting sounds to sit in the middle of your mix, like the kick and the snare. Well, this is a groove-based track, and I'm going to be doing a call and response with the synth chords in the hook and have space where there's space with the vocals and space with the drums and the glitch and the little effects that we did. So I want to actually go back and revisit this now that we have the drums. And the key thing that I should point out that I switched in between videos, this whole sound where in the drop where we did that section where I did that snap on the one, I have removed. That I kind of didn't follow my own advice. Kiss, keep it simple, stupid. That's a little bit too intricate. Right for you. So I have those sounds there, but the kick comes back in on the one. All right, let's go back now to the verse. Got me feeling like I'm home now. Let's talk about the chords that I used. So the chords were in the verse. The first chord is this E minor 7 chord. Second is this D at 11. Third is this C major 7 with a 9 on top. And then a G and an A minor. So what we have with this is kind of more of like a sad type of feeling. It's not super sad because there's so many chords. There are 5 different chords. So we have enough variation to where it's not like super, so like not one of those super sad chord progressions. But in the drop, I think I want it to be more uplifting and kind of get away from that minor feel. So all I have to do is change where and what order I play in and not play one of the major ones first, which shouldn't be that hard, seeing how out of 5 of these chords, 3 of them are major. So I just need to stay away from the A minor, which wouldn't make sense, and the E minor 7. So let's try starting on, this one's going to be weird, just coming out of that chord progression, and then going back down a half step. That'd be super indie and weird. So it might have more impact because of my voice leading. I'm going to start down lower than probably, I can't go to that G because that'd be minor. So maybe I could start on not the G, but the E. I could start maybe on the D. That doesn't have that impact. So let's try starting on the C. So what if it went in from the verse, it goes. And then the drop we have. I think that would be cool. So basically I'm just changing things up, and in the drop or in the hook section we're going to go C major 7/9, D6 11, E minor 7, D add 11, and then up to that G. I think that'll be cool, and it'll be a little bit bigger sounding. So what I'm going to do here is I am going to layer in the bass, and we're going to change that bass progression. All right, so there it is. Going to need a little bit of some quantization love, as I always do. All right, this right here, this note's really important. This helps give it that future bass feel. If I left this out here and we just switched on that kind of, the normal one, it doesn't have that bounce, it doesn't have that feel. So that's a really popular, common thing to do. and it kind of gives it that calling card of the genre. I know some of you might be thinking, well, why the hell do you want to do something if a lot of other people are doing it? There's certain things in all genres of music production that I wouldn't want to say are a requirement, but they're close to a requirement if you want it to be perceived by the listener as that genre, right? So this is already at a weird tempo. I'm already taking a lot of creative freedoms, especially with this bass. Most future bass tracks just have like a straight up sub bass in the big part of the song, like the hook or the drop. So I'm already taking some creative freedoms, if you will. So I want to do some things that make it have that feature bass sound. That is one of them. And when the chords occur, that will accent that. And then we also have the this drum section that's pretty. And you'll notice that it's kind of a common to. It's not necessarily common, but I've heard a few productions do this, where you have the broken up sections of the bass. You see all these spaces in between my MIDI notes here. And then when you get to the end or you get to one part, it's more legato. All right, I'm going to be lazy, and I'm just going to copy and paste the first half of that over to the second half. Alright, actually, let's make sure that doesn't need any clipping here. It does. So, like, one of the most annoying features of Logic, if anyone uses Logic, you'll know I hate getting that. Like, every time I get this when I go to Scissor Tool something, chop it, and I get that message just like, there's overlapping notes found. I just panic. I don't know why. Anyway, so there we have that, and we'll copy and paste that out, and we'll color this red. If you guys are wondering why I don't color everything as I go, I just color some things, and I've always kept it the same. Like, my drums are usually this dark blue, so like if I make these, if we do all these the same color as the others, it just helps me navigate around the track a little bit better. For instance, when I'm zooming out and checking things and editing, I know that this is my bass and these are my drums and all the other stuff is kind of filled in. So I know that these tracks nestled in between these colors here, I know those are all drums as well. So it's a cool little work hack I actually picked up from a blog, I believe, a few years ago. Anyway, there is the chord progression that I'm going to use in the hook. All right, let's turn down these other snares a little bit. A little bit too loud. Okay, so there is the chord progression that I'm going to use. Now let's go back into the verse. I like the chord progression in the verse. You got lips that I can feel. Hands that hold and eyes so clear. But this breakdown section, you can see me through the smoke now. I don't think it'll work coming out of those chord progression or out of the same progression as the verse. Down. Say it all, say it all, say it all now. Lay it all, lay it all, lay it all down. Say it all, say it all. You turn everything down. Say it all, I would ride for you, I would die for you. But I would lie. I mean, it actually kind of works. I don't mind it. I don't hate it. Let's just drag that down and mute it, and let's try a variation of kind of those first two progressions kind of together, or the first progression with that new hook section. So what we have with that, the first one goes do, 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 do. The cool thing about it, I think, is that G up to the A minor. So let's try doing what we did with the drop, or the hook, and let's try doing that in the breakdown, but instead of going back down to the D, just up to the G, let's actually go to the G to the A. So let's try that. So I have a happy problem, actually. I like both of them. I just need to make a decision now which one I think is going to make the hook pop out more. And I actually think that'd be the progression that I'm using in the verse. But then I'm trying to think ahead to, I don't want to have 16 bars of this exact same bass pattern, the stop and go, boom, boom, stop, right? So I don't know if I want that. So it might be better just to have this kind of a legato feel of those chords happening in this breakdown section leading into Luna's hook, because it does, the hook chords, because we changed those, it does kind of come out of nowhere. Listen. And that, I think, has more impact coming out of the breakdown. So I'm just going to roll with that. So we're just going to take this, we're going to go to colors, and we are going to make this red with the rest of the bass. So now I have the chord progression laid out for me. I just don't have the chords put in and the sound that I want, but this is going to be the progression of the song. I need to find a sound that I can use for the verse and for the breakdown. So as I do with a lot of other things, production related, I tend to work backwards. So I'm going to search for some future bass type sounds and some sort of synth here. And what we're going to do is we're going to start to play the chords with this melody. Now, it doesn't have to be the finished melody, because I just want to get chords in here and some basic chords in the verses so I can actually track Luna's real vocals, which we'll be checking out in my studio. And we'll have a whole couple videos on that process. But yeah, so I'm going to add some chords. So the video is going to break, and I'm going to search for some sounds and kind of talk about that process as once I find a sound that I want. And then we are going to lay in some basic chords here. And then after that, we are going to build out the chord progression in the verse. I'll see you guys there. All right, guys, so I went through some sounds, and I found a sound that I like that I'm kind of writing with for the chorus breakdowns, or hook and drop section, rather. And the synth that I'm using right now is called Reveal Sound Spire. I'm sure a lot of you guys have heard of it. I kind of do want to spend, because I get asked this question a lot in various emails. People will see my tutorials, they'll buy the sound set, or they'll know about Echo Soundworks, and they'll ask me, one of the most common things I get asked is, well, what type of synths should I buy? I feel like I have massive or silent, and I have those two, but I want more interesting choices. So I'm going to talk about that process a little bit for me. There's no right or wrong with choosing what synths to use and when to use them. It's just kind of a color palette thing, in my personal opinion. So with that being said, the reason I call it Spire is Spire has a really interesting, unique sound. Just because we can't touch these synths doesn't mean that they have different character, different timbre, different sonic coloring, from Spire to Massive to Silent to Serum, all that. So with future bass, what you want to do typically with these big synth chords is you want it to be interesting sounding. And a saw sound and a square sound, which is kind of the calling card of future bass, the big chords. We talked about that way back in the tutorial course at this point. But if you just use a basic square and a basic saw, it's going to sound really, really boring. It's going to sound like a cookie cutter, almost like a kind of like a karaoke backing track almost. So I like to layer synths. I like to grab different synths creating similar sounds, because it creates this really unique feeling. So we'll look at this later. I know I'm going to use Anna for this. I'm going to use Spire. I'm probably going to use Serum, because Serum has a really unique tone and it can get really glossy, kind of a glassy type sound. And I might use Synth Master, because I was dinking around in Synth Master a while ago, and I found a preset that I really like that would work quite well for future bass. So it's going to be about 4 synths deep, but this specific sound is just really dry and really crispy. Let's listen to it real quick. Okay, and I want to talk about one other element of my production process, because it might help some of you guys out there. It might help you finish things quicker. When I am producing, I don't like making sounds from scratch. I know it might sound weird because I'm a sound designer. I use a ton of my own presets in my productions, but I don't typically get in like a sound design mode while I'm trying to write, especially while I'm trying to write. I will revisit the sound design later right before I mix. That's kind of part of the process that I discussed earlier in the tutorial course. But for right now, I'm kind of just going through presets, getting ideas and getting like a mood or a vibe established. So I believe this patch I made off of like a I was just going through the stock library in Spire, and then I found one. I changed a couple of the oscillators, but the template was there. I'm not starting from scratch. That's one reason why I love presets, and that's one reason why I love making presets and sample packs for people, because it's inspiring. Like right when I started playing this, I love the thing about the patch had a much different waveform in it. It was it was a very different sound actually, but the attack, the envelope shape, and the reverb and delay was how it is. I didn't change that, and it sounds great. And it's gonna sound great in this voicing because there's not a lot of low end, which is nice. If we look at the analyzer here and I play it, I'm not gonna have to cut with an EQ, which is really cool. So, all right, let's get into actually recording this progression. I'm gonna turn off the mic and we're gonna record it in real time.
I said, oh, I would ride for you, I would die for you. I knew it, but I would lie for you. I'm a mind for.
All right, guys, so I quantized that real quick, did it off screen, made some slight edits to some timing of things, but this is what we have right now. So you'll notice that it is pairing nicely with the bass in terms of when it's playing and when it's not playing. Listen. All right, and that pairs nicely, again, with the kind of glitched out sounds that we have, like this. All right, so that's gonna sound really nice. I like that. So what we're gonna do is, I'm not gonna do a bunch of the layering right now, but I am going to make a new track here, and we are going to pull in that that Synth Master preset that I made. So I made a little folder of that when I was hunting through for some of the sounds. So here is the sound in Synth Master by default. All right, so there's way too much delay and reverb on this, so I'm gonna go take that off. If you guys don't know what Synth Master is, this is probably like the most slept on synth that there is. They actually just updated to 2.8, and I haven't installed it yet. I really need to, because I guess they've included drag and drop modulation, which is gonna blow my mind. We just drag and drop, and it'll show you over here on the mod matrix. But anyway, Synth Master is a really cool synth. I believe it was the second or third most popular in the vote Music Radar does every year for the top 50 soft synths. So it's a really good one. If you don't have it, it's pretty cheap. It's a good synth to pick up, has some unique characters, some unique features. But let's go to the effects page in this, and we're gonna go to, let's see what we have on here. Let's just go to the effects global page. Okay, so we have echo. Let's turn that down. And let's turn down that reverb as well. Okay, now I have an instance of the Lfo Tool on this preset, just taking out a little bit of the initial attack. This is essentially like doing a sidechain, or setting up a sidechain compressor. I like using this sometimes, and I like using sidechain compression. I want to talk about the importance of the specifically with using the Lfo Tool as opposed to sidechain compression with this track. And I also have it on the Spire patch as well. All right, so I have assigned the mod wheel to the filter cutoff. Let's turn down the master volume though. All right, now if we layer those together, it's a huge sound. Just bring in the kick and snare at the drums, you'll be able to hear it. That it should fight through those quite nicely. All right, so that's pretty cool. I can dig that. I can like it. Now, let's get back to talking about the Lfo Tool and why I did that as opposed to doing a sidechain compression and have it running through the kick. The reason why is because it would be taking out random points in the actual chords, right? There'd be a takeout right there, this is where, right, this first hit right on the down of the bar, this is where the LFO tool is taking out. But this kick right there, no. This kick right there, no. This kick right here, no. So it would make it glitchier, for sure. Not glitchy is maybe the wrong word. It would break up the sound in a much different way. The LFO tool doesn't give you that option, really. If you look at this, it's literally just on a grid. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, right? You can hear that. Right, and we can change, let me copy this preset because I did change a little bit, and we can look at the other side chain, for instance. I was on the wrong LFO tool. All right, let's change this one. So we'll go to one that carves out more. Hear that? See, now that's the reason why sidechain like that exists in this effect, the Lfo tool exists, is more for 4 on the floor type stuff, not groove-based stuff like this. But this is just going to let the kick, when it happens on the 1, it's going to let it fight through. But for instance, a kick's not even on this beat right here, see? So this isn't really competing with it. The first chord is, which is cool. This chord right here, there's no kick either. So really, that's why I have it, because it gives it this kind of consistent bounce that doesn't follow the drum pattern. And I like it. All right, so there's the chord progression filled in a little bit more for the hook. Now, I copied and pasted out some drums and stuff like that we looked at that in the other video, that's why this looks a little bit different. But we're gonna go backwards now, and we're gonna find some synths for the verse part. And we're just gonna make the track a little bit more produced for when we get Luna in the vocal booth to cut the final vocals. So I'm gonna do the same thing like I did before. I'm going to cut away for a few minutes, or maybe 30 minutes, and find some sounds I want to use for the verse and breakdown. We'll come back and we'll pop those in. See you guys there. Welcome back, guys. So what I did off screen, I went through a few different synths and I landed on a Dune 2 synth. I actually did the tutorial course for this, ironically, on Sonic Academy. It's a great synth. I wanted something kind of ambient and ethereal for the verses. I wanted it to not hit nearly as hard in terms of like the types of synth that I used in this course. So this is quite hard and big. So I wanted something really chill and ambient, and I settled on this. Okay, so the chords that I'm playing, they're literally the chords that we've been dinking around with the whole time. That's an octave up, let me play it lower. It's E minor 7, D6 over 11, C major 7, add 9, G, A minor 7. That's literally it. And I played it to initially the second half of the verse with the bass. Sounds really cool, I like it. Okay, and I was holding down on the pedal. So not all synths work by default with the foot pedal, but I did for this because I liked how it kind of, there's not a lot of there's not a long sustain time in the synth. Right, it's just mainly delay. So I wanted that to kind of build up. So I need to edit that though, because I'm not the greatest key player. So see how they're kind of overlapping? So in Logic, this is representative of the sustain pedal. It says sustain pedal right here. So I have overlapping notes a lot of times. So if we look here, I'm gonna take this over so it's not overlapping into the next chord. So it's a little bit cleaner sounding is what I'm going for here. And we'll just take that to about right there. We'll take this one back. So at a value of 127, it means it's on. A value of 0, it means it's off. And then what we're going to do, this is important if you're a Logic user, is take it down to 0 after your little loop section, or where you would loop it. If not, you'll have this like hanging note that just goes on for days. Okay, let's actually do a pinch of EQ. I know this is technically mixing. I'm just gonna take out some of the lows of the synth because there are a lot of them, and we're gonna listen to that with the bass. Sounds better. Okay, so with the first 8 bars, I'm gonna do a really subtle difference. This is just gonna be drums and this synth most likely, and Luna's voice. What we're gonna do in this one is we're gonna bring back up the piano editor here, the MIDI editor, piano roll, whatever they call it. I'm gonna turn off the sustain pedal on all of this. So what this will do, it'll do 2 things. it will just be a slight difference where when we hit the back half of the first of the verse, so the last 8 bars, it'll be a little bit fuller sounding, but not by much. See how there's open space? From about right there, it kind of stops on each of these hits. Whereas if we go to this section with the bass, hear how it rings out. It's really subtle, but this is that rule of 8 again. I'm doing something just to change it up, and a listener's never going to be like, damn, did you hear how on the second half of that 16-bar verse, he used a sustain pedal to make the energy and make it a little bit more denser? No, of course not, but it's just one of those things that helps it gel together. So let's listen to it. Okay, let's listen to, let me make sure this is still right. So we're just going to, let's take this up. Just delete the foot pedal altogether on this. I do not want to read a book right now. iBooks, thank you very much. Okay, so let's just delete all these just to make double sure. Okay. All right, so that is what I'm going to use to track the final vocals. Now, the breakdown, I spent a couple hours working on this in between this little break section of the video. I added an acoustic guitar, like a palm muted acoustic guitar. Pan it out left and right. Recorded this in my bedroom, not at my studio. Sounds real shitty, but it works in the context of a mix. And then what I'm going to do with this, I'm going to have everything kind of cut out. We worked on these drums. The kick drums are going to be there, but not the other drums. But what's going to happen is, it's going to go from kind of nothing. We're going to make it a smaller mix, and then so the hook section sounds really big. That's kind of playing with the ear a little bit. So what I wanted to do, though, I wanted to get some type of synth chord in there, like a future bass type synth chord, and then filter out all the highs. So that's what's happening here. So if I take this off, and let me copy this preset real quick, and I'll go to the default one. So I just went through, I'm making a sound set called Flume Future Bass Volume 1, and I'm just going through a bunch of sounds for it and just trying out the chords in it. I have the MIDI there, and I'm literally just auditioning it. I like doing that a lot. So I'd go like, I'd do this. Okay, I feel like that one doesn't work. Okay, I actually like that one more than the one I chose. Let's filter this one out. Ooh, yes. Okay, let's get the Lfo Tool on that. Reverse what order the EQ and Lfo Tool are occurring, and let's try this. Ooh, I like that more than the one I had, I think. So what's gonna happen, I might open up this filter and automate it a little. This EQ rather. And then as we get to that last chord, it's still going to be a few thousand hertz under, a few thousand kilohertz under the actual threshold of like where the filter would open if it were a synth. But this needed to be there, otherwise it felt weird. So let's listen to the back half of the verse now and then into the breakdown. All right, so what we're going to do as well, we're going to copy and paste the chords that I did with that into that pad sound. Now it's going to be a little bit too loud, so I'm going to Command D this, make a new instance of Dune, and we're going to turn this one down. that little bar of space is going to make that hook just explode out of nowhere. It's going to be really cool. And that space is helpful because this chord progression, it's actually kind of weird. This is why I was hesitant to use the chord progression that I used in the verse, because I wanted to leave that last bar open because Luna does this really cool run right here. And I wanted that to be open, but where this sits in the chord progression, it's literally the starting chord. The chord that I end on right here is literally the chord that starts the hook. Right, so that space really helps. It actually feels kind of cool. So let's listen to it with the vocals from the verse section into the breakdown.
You got lips that I can feel, hands that hold and eyes so clear. You can see me through the smoke now. Got me feeling like I'm home now. Lay it all, lay it all, lay it all down. Say it all, say it all, say it all now. Lay it all, lay it all, lay it all down. Say it all, say it all. You got lips that.
I want to hear it into the breakdown, into the hook. But yeah, it sounds really cool. It needs a lot of mixing help, obviously, but this is enough to actually scratch track to for the final vocals, I think.
Lay it all, lay it all, lay it all down. Say it all, say it all, say it all now. Lay it all, lay it all, lay it all down. Say it all, say it all, say it all. I would ride for you, I would die for you.
All right, so I like where it's at, guys. I'll see you in the next video where we are actually going to be in studio. We're going to be talking to Luna. We're going to be we're doing a little studio tour, talk about some acoustic type stuff for you guys who struggle with treating your room, your project space, whatever it may be. And then we're going to do some vocal booth tips and tricks and tracking. I will see you guys there.
If you like this course, why not head over to sonicacademy.com, where we have hundreds of complete track builds in every genre imaginable, including all the project files and samples. You'll also find tutorials on plugins and synths, mixing and mastering, over 250 tech tips, artist interviews, along with our award-winning plugins, samples and preset packs.